This section on technology ethics will look at large tech companies, their practices, and the impact that their approaches to tech development have on their users. This is a broader perspective outside of just library technology, since many library users are bringing external technologies into their use of the library by checking email, social media, and cloud storage services, for example, while they visit library spaces. So these examples can give us an idea of what users are engaging with and how it's impacting their experiences. First off, I want you to consider, what do you think of when you hear technology ethics? Take a second to think about the phrase. Maybe you're thinking about how people run tech companies, what people consider when they develop new technology, or how users can protect their privacy and data. To start off, people working in tech have a variety of backgrounds, viewpoints, and ethical frameworks, whether explicitly stated or not. Sometimes explicit ethical frameworks like effective altruism become popular in tech. EffectiveAltruism.org defines the movement as a philosophical and social movement that advocates taking actions which maximally benefit sentient beings as determined by evidence and reason. You may have heard about effective altruism because of its connection to controversies in cryptocurrency and tech figures like Sam Bankman-Fried. It is an interesting example of tech workers following a cohesive, if hotly debated, ethical framework. Other viewpoints in the industry are less explicitly stated, but some information can be garnered from company practices and public statements. Let's take a look at a few companies and see how they represent their work. Twitter's original mission statement was to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly, without barriers. Although Twitter has been cited as an organizing platform in some social justice campaigns, such as Arab Spring and Black Lives Matter, it has also been criticized for allowing some users to violently harass others and spread misinformation, such as in the Gamergate harassment campaign and during various political campaigns. So the phrase "without barriers" in their mission is an interesting one to consider in terms of content moderation, for example. Facebook's first known mission statement from 2012 was to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. And while many users undoubtedly found community on Facebook, it's difficult to judge how open the site was when it requires users to register, request connections, and request admission to groups. In addition, Facebook also infamously had an internal motto, "Move fast and break things," up until 2014. Although the phrase is open to interpretation, it does imply a strong willingness to disrupt things without taking the time to think about the repercussions of their actions. Google's mission statement since 1998 is, "Organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful." But another early motto they had was, "Don't be evil," which founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin said had a variety of meanings, including remaining unbiased and objective in Google's search results. But can anything be completely unbiased? Even if search results are based on a lot of different factors, such as the number of web pages that reference a particular resource, those search results are still a product of cultural bias. Google has updated their search algorithm numerous times in the face of complaints about how it represents minority populations, for example. Dr. Safiya Noble has an excellent book titled Algorithms of Oppression: How Search Engines Reinforce Racism, which presents examples of Google's biased search results and updates that happened in the face of complaints. It's notable that none of the mission statements we reviewed mentioned user data, privacy, or security. They all shared a positive vision of connecting people and ideas, but didn't address what happens when a company has access to billions of photos that their user base has created, or billions of user-generated documents that they have saved on their servers. Web technology companies typically collect a lot of data about their users and use the data to improve their products and services. But this comes with costs. It often perpetuates biases and puts users in a vulnerable position where they can be exploited or targeted by corporations, political groups, and government agencies, which I'll discuss with examples in a minute. Ferreira and Vardy in 2021 wrote that any technology or technology-mediated practice is never politically neutral, but is always already embedded within a particular social context and guided by the power asymmetries that exist therein. And users today are encouraged by technical and ideological mechanisms to increasingly datafy themselves, creating the resources that, on the one hand, will allow them to better manage themselves, but on the other hand, will also leave the door open for them to be exploited in new and more violent ways for economic and political purposes. To explore these viewpoints a little further, here are some examples of tech biases in photography. In 2016, Hankerson wrote, "Pre-existing biases can be implicit and subconscious rather than malicious in intent. Yet, this sort of bias still has negative effects by failing to provide appropriate technologies for underrepresented minorities in STEM." In 2021, researchers found that a Twitter algorithm that automatically cropped photos to display them on the site was biased in several disturbing ways. Researchers looked at how the algorithm, which automatically edited photos to focus on people's faces, dealt with a variety of different people, and saw evidence that Muslims, people with disabilities, and older people faced discrimination with this algorithm. The same artificial intelligence had learned to ignore people with white or gray hair, people who wore headscarves for religious or other reasons, and people who used wheelchairs. The picture on this slide shows photos of political candidates Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler posted to Twitter. In the left photo, Warnock is on the left, and in the right photo, he appears on the right. A user posted both pictures to Twitter in 2020, and both times the preview version of the picture that appeared on the Twitter timeline was cropped to show only Kelly Loeffler's face. A user posted both pictures to Twitter in 2020, and both times the preview version of the picture that appeared on the Twitter timeline was cropped to show only Kelly Loeffler's face, meaning only users that clicked would see the whole picture of both faces, and users that did not click would only see Loeffler's face. In 2015, Google came under fire when its algorithm for automatically tagging people in photos repeatedly tagged Black people as gorillas. And in 2010, Nikon cameras had a feature to detect if anyone in the photo had blinked, and to warn users to get another photo if that happened. Unfortunately, the algorithm falsely gave a warning when Asian people were pictured, thinking that they were blinking. All of these examples point to the biases around race that have been prevalent in many tech offerings. When the technologies being developed are primarily trained on collections of photos featuring white people, the software malfunctions when it is extended out to being used on other populations.